In this video, I'm going to take you through my 4 exam day predictions for the ACCA Strategic Business Leader examination for the pre-seen information ahead of the September 2025 sitting for the company Menu Craft. My name is James, I'm an ACCA qualified member, and if you'd like access to my exclusive SBL notes you can see above me that have helped students out around the world to pass their exam in the past, click the link in the description of this video and you can download a copy yourself. I'm also delighted to say that I'm affiliated and associated with Astranti. They offer pre-seen analysis packs that takes you through everything from their expert markers and also some actual mock examination papers that are designed and based on the pre-seen information for Menu Craft themselves. So really good for your revision. And if you'd like access to those resources, click the links in the description of this video. And for pure transparency as always on the channel, if you were to purchase anything, I'd be entitled to a small percentage which goes to supporting the YouTube channel. So as always, a massive, huge thank you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will get back to you. And just to clarify, for the recording, I have not seen the SBL exam. I've not spoken to the markers or the people who have written it. This is purely based on what I've understood from going through the information myself. I don't have a crystal ball. If I knew that, then I'd know if Leicester City, my team, were going to get promoted this year. More likely to get relegated. Anyway, we digress because my exam day prediction number 1 is Porter's value chain. Now, why have I gone for this theory to be applied for the pre-seen information? Well, you need to go down to page 11 in your notes and you can follow it through on the screen with me. Now, you need to go to the website extracts on the left-hand side because there was a little giveaway in one of the points they mentioned in the value. So I've put my mouse on it so you can follow it through. And one of the points that actually Menu Craft, and you can quote it in your exam, in your answers, if it was to be tested, of course, that they've got making a positive environmental decisions throughout our value chain. And when I read it through, I went automatically, well, are they hinting out there about a Porter's value chain that could be actually applied in this case? And then when you actually read it through and you go through some of the other elements, if you come up to page 8 now, and this is where we get told about a few of the details that links into the actual theory itself. So we're talking about here to help maximize efficiency and to minimize waste. You can see on my notes on the right hand side, I even wrote down Porter's value chain here, that they actually want to use algorithms and linking it to the orders of the customers and the demands per week. But the key thing about the value chain here is that we've got less than 1% in terms of weight of all purchased ingredients do not make it to customers in the meal kit production process. So this is where, is there a possibility of some improvement there? Obviously, it's the 1% figure that we could apply on the exam day if it was to be tested, because that's what the marker's are looking for, the application of the pre-seen information to the scenario and to the requirements. There are other areas and just little hints. So if you look on the left-hand side now on page 7, I'll put my mouse on it as well. There was a key little line on here as to MC has one of the highest customer retention rates, nearly got it wrong there, in the industry. So again, linking that back to the value chain on there, that is something fantastic, a great positive thing for you to note down for a value chain analysis and application. So it's just so that you can actually say how Menu Craft are performing against their competitors. And lastly, why I think it's also got legs to be tested is there was a little hint on page 9 on here, and it's all about the actual efficiency of how the factory operates, the number of hours, and what I'll do is I'll just put my mouse on it at the bottom here. So we're told that MC operates from one large production factory located in central Ireland where all the meal kit production takes place. So all of it's all in one place. So thinking about that from a value perspective. But then we've also got capacity issues, maybe resources and errors that could come up, that there are 4 separate production lines which were not given too much detail on each of them individually. So you could mention that. And which operate 16 hours per day, 7 days per week. So plenty to discuss on there in terms of Porter's value chain and some of the specifics that you could relate it to. If you've got my notes, you can go down to page 11 now. On the left-hand side, I've put Porter's value chain at what it actually is, what it entails. So it's a strategic management tool that helps businesses identify and improve their competitive advantage. So, well, really applicable to Menucraft. And the 4 key areas about breaking down a business into its primary and supporting activities, which they have done in the preceding information. Identifying how each activity adds value to the product or service, which they've talked about in terms of their retention rates. Look for ways to improve efficiency and reduce costs. Well, we've just looked at they're at near capacity, and they've got other aspects on there, such as the different products that they use and the recipes on top of that. And lastly, use the insights to develop a competitive strategy. This is where we could bring in the likes of the board of directors on there and a student's ideas when they actually apply Porter's value chain, potentially, if it was to be tested on the exam day. Also, bear in mind that most of the requirements on the exam day will not probably say in the requirement Porter's value chain. It will hint at providing value to different stakeholder groups. You'll have to read between the lines and go, that kind of looks like I could apply the value chain. So that is my exam day prediction number 1, Porter's value chain on there. Right, prediction number 2. This is the Ireland Food Standards Agency, and they are the industry regulatory body. Why have I gone for this? Well, you've got to go up to page 6 on your notes. That is the first place on here because it was mentioned, as you can see, on page 6. So we're talking about the Ireland Food Standards Agency, government agency responsible for food safety and hygiene. Key words for you to get down there, safety and hygiene in Ireland. So I think something might come up in terms of the safety of these meal kits that they're producing, or the hygiene of the food, how it is being actually put together. It works with a wide range of food-related businesses throughout Ireland to ensure that all food safety regulations and standards are being met. So this is accountability, and as I said, they are the industry regulatory body. Why else do I think it could come up or form some form of requirement or for you to talk about? Well, in the risk register, as you can see on the right-hand side, in the legal and regulatory areas of the risk report, it highlights again that Ireland's Food Standards Agency on there. They actually have rigorous external checks every 6 months, and this is the interesting part at the end there, and our license to operate depends on this certification. So there could be the risk that actually Menucraft could lose their certification. What would happen if there was some form of food poisoning or illness or safety or recalls? Something is going to go wrong on your exam day, and that is where you've got to pivot and link to it. And speaking of linking to it, you can see on my notes there about a legal point from a pestle analysis. That is one of the areas that I think it could relate to or be factored in. Or the other areas for your notes to get down is, you can see up at the top, a TARA model possibility there about how to manage that risk. So going through each of the 4 different areas, with it being one of the factors. Or lastly, maybe you could link it into, because it's actually a industry regulatory body, that is one of the stakeholders of Menucraft, and therefore it could be in a sort of stakeholder analysis point or a Mendelow's matrix on there. So that's why you can see, again, if you've downloaded my notes, you'll see it on there, bottom of page 10. That's why I've got Mendelow's matrix. And if it was an actual stakeholder question it was linked to, you've then got to decide if you need to apply Mendelow's matrix to it as to, for that stakeholder group, do we need to keep them satisfied? Are they a key player, minimal effort, or just simply keep them informed? So working out how much power and level of interest does the Food Standards Agency have on the business. But that is my exam day prediction number 2. The Ireland Food Standards Agency being able to be applied in one way or another, or the potential risk of losing that certification. Right, exam day prediction number 3 of what I think is going to come up. Now what we need to do here is come up to page 8 on here. So why have I come up to page 8? As you can see on the right hand side, I'll put my mouse on it. This is all about the names, the roles, and accountability. This is the first pre-scene that I've ever seen where we've not got a single person's name given within it. So I think to myself, well, the SBL markers absolutely love it when students apply the names of the individuals, or especially the board of directors. So what I'm thinking there is, on the exam day, in the unseen information, maybe provided in an exhibit, or maybe actually directly in a requirement, I think you might get the name or the names of the board structure. So these could be some of the important individuals who operate the business, and possibly it could relate into you relaying it to a sort of agency theory kind of question. But the two names of the Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Commercial and Marketing Officer, those are the two original founders, those two chefs who actually set up the business. I think we could get their names on the exam day, and a marker will think, when I'm reading through a script, has the person actually written the name in the answer versus a student who hasn't on there? So that is definitely on my list. Then also, we've got to be thinking that they like to see in your answers that you're envisaging like what you would do in that sort of scenario. So you've got to work out who is accountable and what sort of roles does it link to. And then you go, well, okay, well, when we look at the board of directors or the board structure, we're not given any accountability for their roles. You can also see on the side there, I think even mentioning that there's nothing to do with IT or systems or sustainability or the environment. There's so much of those areas included in the pre-C materials. I think that's definitely going to be a point, and linking it back to that board structure that you could say about it on there. It also links into that we're told that the two main founders have got 10% each. And I think it could link into a sort of control or sort of strategy style question on there. So you've got to be thinking, well, maybe we're going to get more information on that remaining 80% of the shares, who they're actually owned by and what investors. And then the other thing is, if you look at the board structure itself, you can see the CEO here, where I might put my mouse now. Look at the structure there, that the CEO is actually operating and in charge of the Chief Financial Officer, the Chief Operating Officer, the other founding chef, and then the Chief People Officer. So maybe that could be another factor that you could roll into some of your actual analysis and answers on there. With the final thing being that you can see in terms of the board committees, I find it a bit strange how they've got the audit and the risk committee together. If anything was to come up about an audit factor or like risk, what we talked about before, there could be a conflict of interest there, having the same people operating for two different areas. And again, we're not really given too much information on the non-executive directors. Do they have any specialties or anything like that? So it can link into a possible ethics style question. And when you've got these board of directors and they're making decisions, you'll see throughout my notes, definitely something you should be applying to a SWOT analysis question or a pestle question. There are so many different points. I can't put my finger on each one because I'd say it's about even for the number of SWOT notes that I've put down. You can see them on the bottom right for strengths, in the ingredients to suppliers, and there are a lot of pestle factors. The last thing in terms of the names, roles and accountability, why I say something like this may come up, is in your SBL exam, there will be some form of ethics involved. And if we again come down to those values where we're told that menu craft or we are committed to, look at the last 2 points that they're committed to. So demonstrating responsible leadership in all aspects of our business activities. And even when I read that, I read it back to you now, I go, all aspects, responsible leadership. I'm there going, something is going to go wrong there. Is there a hint of it? And you can see in the final point, ensuring every member of the MC upholds the highest ethical standards based on honesty, respect, and accountability. So that is where I'm thinking to myself, if there is an ethical style question, it'll go against their values, and therefore you can then apply the ACCA Code of Ethics, where if you come up to page 2 on my notes, if you've got a copy yourself to highlight this, or actually it's on page 1, I've put the ACCA Code of Ethics on there, link it to the scenario, so you've got to relate it to either integrity, objectivity, professional behaviour, professional competence and due care, or confidentiality, trying to work out what ethical area it is a risk of. So that is area number 3 of my predictions, the names, the roles and accountability. Right, we're coming on to my exam day prediction number 4. And this is where Porter is going to make another appearance, because on page 1, left hand side now, I was thinking about this before making the video. James, you've got to go pestle, swat or porter. Which one do you fancy? And I just went from reading it back and reading it through. Look at Porter's 5 forces, look at my notes if you've downloaded them. You've got competitive rivalry on there. Well, we can have a look through the different market shares. Supplier power. We're told that Menucraft on page 8 has over 600 suppliers. Buyer power from Menucraft's point of view. We've got a bit of limited information, but it's a very price sensitive marketplace because customers chop and change from one to another. Threat of substitution, absolutely. Customers are very easy to change from one to another. And threat of new entry, there are smaller organisations that make up the other 11% in the market share. So that is where you just need to go down to page 3. You can see on the left-hand side, there's plenty for you to apply it back to on there. And I think as well, they could also link it into you talking about it from a sort of Ayland versus international perspective, because I think lots of students are going to make mistakes on it. So when I'm thinking about that from Menucraft's point of view, if they're maybe going to, who knows, go through a merger or an acquisition, or maybe they're looking to expand, some students are just going to go, oh, well, they're just going to expand like overseas or something. There are 2 options that we're told in the pre-C materials. Number 1 being the country of Gamma, where I put my mouse on there. And then the other keyword is the global meal kit industry. So global and Gamma are going to be the key ones on there. We're given some stats about the global markets changing and being worth $25 billion this year, and it's going to be worth $75 billion in the next decade, so plenty to talk about. And I think they're going to maybe try and link in to a Porter's 5 forces question, the main competitor in Freshie as well. So if we come down to the other factors down here about what we're looking at in terms of the competition. So Freshie is the only global business. I think lots of students are going to forget that under the exam pressure. MC, Food Dropper and A Meals you'll be able to apply to a Porter's 5 forces question, and then linking it into the other factors in terms of different levels of power, substitution, new entry into the market, and that is where that other 11% comes into on the left. So plenty to discuss, but I'm putting my neck on the line. I'm going to go for Porter's 5 forces as my 4th exam day prediction. Well, I hope you found that helpful, going through it top to bottom. If you'd like a copy of my exclusive notes, as I said, click the link in the description. They will definitely save you so much time on there. Also check out those Astranti mock papers and pre-scene analysis packs. Could be the difference in getting you that 50 plus, especially as the mock papers are based on the pre-scene information for Menucraft. Be sure to subscribe and like the video. I really appreciate all the support for the channel. So what I've done for you is I put another SBL video up above. Click it. I'll see you on the other side now, and best of luck with your exam.